Everybody, and welcome back to the Aurorian Temple in Fairfield, Iowa. This is January 6th, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the high holiday that's going on right now. And this is basically what we call Epiphany, and this is very similar to, or perhaps underlying, the archetypal structure that gave rise to Epiphany in the Christian religion, which is actually also going on at this very moment. And Epiphany basically means appearance, and we have epiphanies of all 12 of the archetypes as they pass through the year. And the Epiphany is always 2 weeks or 15 days precisely after their birth. And at this particular time, January 6th, we are 2 weeks into the beginning of Metal Month, which is the month of the smith or the alchemist. And at that particular time, that was here, we saw the rebirth of the lunar sage. That was basically, her mother is this crone here, or the indigo mason. And so the indigo mason, as she moved into the new month of Metal Month, and that was right after the winter solstice. Winter solstice would have been right here between the 2 months of early winter and late winter. As she moved into this month, this is her indigo color here, she provided the stone for the smith, or the stone for the Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, and the jovial dwarf. And the stone was the amethyst. And in return, she received her divine metal, which was the ring of pewter. And the pewter being the metal for the Freemason. And that was, the first 2.5 days of Metal Month. And then the next 2.5 days immediately following that, this was, let's say, December 23rd and 24th, and then December 25th and 6th, we saw the month of, or the 2.5 days that belonged to the smith himself, and he at that time gave birth to his son, who was the yellow creator, solar creator. We could say that the amber sage, or the orange-yellow sage, was the lunar sage. So she's the first one to take birth at the very beginning of this month. Immediately followed by her brother, we could say, who is the solar creator, and he's born December 25th, December 26th. And so you can kind of see the underpinnings of the Christian birth of Jesus Christ. Jesus here being associated with the solar creator, rebirth of the sun. And December 25th was traditionally the day of the rebirth of the sun in Mithraism and various other mystery religions. Okay, so that was around December 25th, 26th. And then we have a number of other holidays following that, 2.5 days for each one, until now we've come around to here. And that is the time when the amber, this is amber, her color, you can see, the amber sage is due for her epiphany, or her bat mitzvah, her coming of age. So this is the time when the archetype, the newborn archetype, is 14 or 15 days old, or in archetypal terms 14 or 15 years old, because I've appointed you each day for a year. And so at 14 or 15 she's become an adult, and it's now her turn to actually undergo her particular quest and then be shown to the community as a full-blown adult. And so the Amber Sage, her quest is to find the star pattern, or the planetary pattern, we could say, the planetary, because she is our mother of the spheres, Our Lady of the Spheres. The sage is the representative, the lunar sage is the one that represents the, we could say, the heliosphere as a whole, the finest skin of the solar system as a whole, of the sun as a whole, kind of containing all the planets. And so her job as the lunar sage is to find the planetary body that represents the smith. And as she goes out on her quest, she ends up finding it, and not too surprisingly, and it turns out to be, in this sort of restored tradition, we could say it's Jupiter. In the non-restored tradition, it was Saturn, but in the restored tradition, we find that it's Jupiter, and that's because we're now including the asteroid belt as an actual planetary essence. And the asteroid belt takes the old place of Jupiter in the right sex area, and that pushes Jupiter down to take the place of Saturn in the left base, the left buttock. And this is, so she finds that the planetary body that belongs to the smith is Guru, which makes sense because Gu is in the back of the throat, and we're in the bottom of the body at this point with the G sounds. That's why the archangel is Gabriel, Guriel. And so the smith is guru, very similar to Gabriel. It means heavy or weight. Smith is the one that accumulates or conglomerates, kind of welds metal to metal. And so he's the agglomerator. Jupiter is the expander in terms of our archetypal system. And so this is the one who is essentially responsible for gravity, whereas his mate, the stone cutter, is the one that chips away, cuts away, is the critic of the stone cutter, and so she is responsible for anti-gravity or levity. And these are the two poles of our base chakra, and when they're combined they form what we could call the grand unification theory. And that is the kind of the inverse of what we find when we move up into our third eye. And that's what the third eye is essentially moving into the universal realm in terms of the measurement of our awareness subjectively. Galactic is kind of up through the throat, and then after that is the universal, and then the super universal is in the crown chakra. So the universal realm, third eye, and these two archetypes that are just now being reborn are the archetypes of our eye. The moon is the left eye and the sun is the right eye. The lunar sage is our left eye and the solar creator is our right eye. And those two together form the poles of our third eye. Okay, so that is for the first 2.5 days of this period, which goes from about January 6th to about January 10th. The first 2.5 days, say January 6th to January 8th or so, the lunar sage is finding the planetary body for the smith, and that's Jupiter, and in return she receives her metal, and that is the silver ring. And one of the names for the lunar sage is Arianrod, the Celtic form, and that actually, some have said that actually means silver ring, Arianrod. That's A-R-I-A-N-R-H-O-D in Welsh or Celtic languages, means silver ring. And so that is essentially, this is not too surprising, because the creator, the lunar sage, as she is given her lunar ring, her silver ring, she is, and this would go on her left ring finger, that would be the finger that belongs to the moon, and then she is then presented to the community as a whole, to the archetypes as a whole, as an adult, and would be given her adult name at that time, and that would probably be Arianrod, silver ring, in kind of confirmation that she has attained her quest, has achieved adulthood. Okay, so that's for January 6th, 7th, and part of 8th, let's say, and then January 8th, 9th, 10th. And there is the 2.5-day period immediately following, and this is when the solar creator, the yellow creator, has come of age. This is exactly 2 weeks after he was born. He was born at this particular time up here, which was December 25th, 26th, you may recall, Christmas. And as he was born, the smith went out to get his metal, and the metal was plumbum, lead in the old tradition, as when he was Saturn. Still lead in terms of guru, because lead is the heaviest of the metals, archetypally speaking, the heaviest of the traditional metals, and guru is the heavy one. So even as Jupiter now, this is his metal, the plumbum, the lead. And in return for finding this lead, bringing this lead to the Archangel Gabriel, or Guvraya, and to the jovial dwarf Guru, the smith in turn achieves the Grail, the Holy Grail. And again, Grail, Grail, Guriel, Grail, all these G sounds. And you could say at that point he gains accession to his throne, the smith does. And then 2 weeks later, as his son, the yellow creator, comes of age, his task is to find the star system that the smith belongs to for this violet island. And he goes out and does that, and he finds that the star system is Aquarius. And that is represented by these stars down here in this pattern. And in return, he is then, as he brings this knowledge to the Archangel Gabriel and to the great jovial dwarf, that their star system is Aquarius, which is essentially the Grail bearer. Aquarius is the water bearer, or the Grail bearer, and it's supposed to pertain to Ganymede, who was the servant of the gods, and he essentially would pour out the brew of immortality for the gods, the mead of immortality. And that was also the smith's job in the Celtic traditions and the Norse traditions. The smith would brew the ale of immortality, the mead. Okay, and so as the yellow creator brings this knowledge of the star system to the jovial dwarf and to the violet archangel Gabriel, he in return receives his medal, and not too surprisingly, being as he's the sun or the solar creator, his medal is gold, the yellow creator. And so he is given a golden ring at this particular time, January 8th, 9th, and 10th, in the Epiphany of the yellow creator. And so that basically completes the Epiphany for this month, and that's the Epiphany of the two eye archetypes, the lunar sage and the solar creator. And at that particular time, as the yellow creator comes of age and is given his gold ring, the smith himself is then crowned. Remember, he gained his throne, the Grail throne, we could say, at December 25th, but here around January 8th at Epiphany, as his son comes of age, the smith himself is then crowned with what we could call the Grail crown. And this would be the prototypical Candlemas, we would say, at this particular time. Okay, and so that's basically all we have to say pretty much about that. This is the time of Epiphany. This is the late winter pentad, or the winter wane pentad, the ending of winter, because winter, you may recall, is only 2 months long in this calendar. It deals with crystal month and metal month, the two base chakras. That will be followed immediately afterwards by the magenta month, which is forest month and tree month. And as the sun moves up from the base chakra into the left sex of the trees in the astral realm, the vegetable kingdom, we will then be, that's in a cross quarter that month. It's neither in winter nor spring. That month is one of the 4 cross quarter months. It makes a big X going through the wheel of the year. And then will be followed by the 2 months straddling the mid-spring equinox, and that will be red month, Mars month, March, beast month, and up into the spleen area in the animal realm, and that will be the month following the cross-quarter month. So that's a quick overview of what will be going on over the next few months. I feel a little bit like the cosmic weatherman here, kind of looking at these charts and sort of saying, okay, we've got a metal month coming in now. It'll shortly be followed by a warmish front coming in during a magenta month. But anyway, so that's basically it in a nutshell as far as the last of the high holidays of winter. This two holiday cluster of a pentad, or 5 days in a row, is called late winter pentad or winter wane pentad, and that's the Epiphany of the lunar sage and the solar creator. And that's it for winter. So we can wave winter goodbye in this system and look forward shortly to the coming of the cross-quarter month of forest month or tree month, which is also known as Oiwalsh or Imbolc in the Celtic calendar. Okay, that's that. And now I would like to speak a little bit about the some of my research on the different chakras, and this is a whole different subject, so we'll be talking here a little bit about the 10th, 11th, and 12th chakras. We've spoken before quite a bit at length on the 9 chakra system, and that is basically 9 chakras within the body, and that is starts with the feet, and then moves to the base chakra, and then the sex chakra as being the 3 bodies of the physical. Elemental being the dense physical, the base chakra being the middle physical, or the soul of the physical, we could say, and then the sex being the spirit of the physical, or the subtle physical body, and that's what we could call the astral body, or the body of prana, the body of electromagnetic energy, essentially. And you may have noticed if you do pranayama, or attention to your breath, various kinds of breath techniques, that this actually recharges the body in a very interesting way. Actually, I've noticed myself when I've done pranayama in India at daybreak, or slightly before daybreak, at my master's house, on Maharshi's house in his ashram up in the Himalayas, that as I was doing this pranayama, this breath exercise early in the morning before sunrise, the energy in the air became literally electric. I felt as if electrical currents were going up and down through my body. This has after been meditating about a year, so I was a little bit surprised by this. And then as soon as dawn hit, the whole atmosphere just went flat. That was it. It just became normal. But that charged quality before dawn, that is something what we're speaking of in terms of energizing or feeding the pranic body, the subtle body. That's with electromagnetic energies, and we use that energy in healing a lot. And the breath is very, very important when it comes to paying attention to these little nuggets of congestion in our field that cause disease if they're overlooked long enough. Okay, so we've got the elemental in the foot chakra, the ordinary physical in the base chakra, which is being, and then the subtle body or the astral body in the navel, in the sex chakra, and that has to do also with the senses, the indriyas, and the electromagnetic field. And then in the navel, and then in the solar plexus or the sacred heart, and in the heart, we have the next three bodies, and these are the dense soul, or the animal soul, the navel, the lower mind, concrete mind, and then the middle soul, the light soul, which is in the solar plexus point, the I am point, and then the causal body, we could say that is, and then the upper body, the subtle soul, the finest feeling level of the Buddhic realm in the heart chakra. And then we have three more bodies in the throat, third eye, and crown, and these are the three bodies of spirit. The dense spirit, we could say, is the throat chakra, and that's manifestation, vibratory essence of creation. The ability to raise and lower your vibration at will would have to do with that area. The Vedic chant of creation, the cosmic Om, all comes from this area of the throat. And so that's the dense spirit. And then the middle spirit, or the soul of the spirit, is in the third eye, and that's the light of the spirit. Again, the middle one is always the light, bottom one is like matter, middle one is like light, upper one is like energy. And then so that's the third eye. And then the crown is like the energy of the spirit, or the spirit of the spirit, and that's the subtlest of the 9 bodies. However, there are then also three chakras that exist beyond the crown chakra. And they also exist below the foot chakra, because it turns out that these other three bodies are what we can call the transcendental bodies, the immortal bodies, the bodies of permanent light. And they are both above the head and below the feet, because essentially our vision wraps around on itself and completes itself as we go up far enough. We end up subtly, in terms of the torus, we could say, the further up we go, we actually end up going out until we actually hit the outermost equator. And that equator is the golden life in the gap, we can say, and that is both above the head and below the feet. And this basically draws attention to a technique that I've used in the past, which is essentially the column of fire. Establish a column of fire, or be aware of a column of light that connects the radiant center above your crown down to the radiant center at your sacred heart, or solar plexus, and then on down to the radiant center beneath your feet, which I've called the heart of the earth. So the one above the crown is what we can call the great spiritual central sun of the universe, or the multiverse, and that's the cosmic heart of creation. And the one below the feet is also the same cosmic heart of creation, but expressed through the center of the earth. And then we could say that if you're drawing energy or attuning to these places, and then from there you can connect with any aspect of creation, God, masters, whatever, and bring that energy and knowledge either up through you or down through you, depending on which end you're tapping, and then as it comes out through your own heart to bless and sanctify your entire creation. This is basically making use of these transcendental chakras, these 10th, 11th, and 12th chakras, either above your head, which is kind of into the realm of Purusha, or the realm of spirit, or down through the body, down below the feet, which is in the realm of Shakti, or power, or matter, or the Divine Mother. So you can either pull from Divine Father or Divine Mother. They're both equally fine. They're both just different ways of seeing that same immortal essence. And that those three chakras, remember, every chakra is a microcosm of the whole, and since we have 9 chakras in our body, each of our chakras has 9 chakras inside of it that reflect in microcosm the whole. And so we can say we basically have 81 chakras within our body, and then there are these additional 3 chakras above our head, and that they subdivide to make an additional 27 chakras, because again, each of those 3 has 9 chakras in it. So we have 81 plus 27 equals 108, and that's the 108 aspects of creation, the 108 dimensions, the 108 layers of magnification or microfication, and the 108 beads on the mandala, or the rosary in the Tibetan and the Hindu traditions. And in the Western Catholic tradition, that 108 has been halved to 54. So there are 54 beads on the Catholic rosary. Both things, if you're starting from the middle point, the Sacred Heart, there are 54 dimensions up and 54 dimensions down before it wraps back around on the self, which is bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. So either if you look at it 54 in terms of half the process or 108 in terms of the entire process, either way you're golden. So that's a quick summation of the 3 chakras that are beyond space and time. They're in the gap, as it were, beyond, before our conception and after our dissolution. There is this realm that is eternal, and that's the eternal 27. Those 27 can be viewed as 3 grids of 9 each to make a cosmic cube, the Lagoa cube, which is our diamond body, or also known as our Sangreal. And the Sangreal, or the Sangreal, this is the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is the immortal, eternal container and the contained. It is both the container and the fluid, and that's pure consciousness. So the container is that 27, that grid, that diamond body, which we spoke of when the Mason, each of the archetypes will see this 27 aspect in their own way. The Freemason will see it as a diamond body because she's a stone cutter, whereas the Smith, being the alchemist, will see it as the Grail, the metal, the world metal. And again, it's both Sang Graal, the Holy Grail, and Sang Real, the royal blood, because the container and the contained are the same. The container is the contained, and in both cases it's pure consciousness, the self itself. Okay, and so that's a quick summation of well, let me just speak a little bit more on that. If you're looking up through your crown chakra and you have developed some celestial perception, you might actually see what looks like a parachute over your head, or essentially an umbrella, perhaps in radiant gold or white, with a very deep, deep blue-black center to it, like the eye of the parachute. And basically, from that center, you would perhaps see fine threads coming down, connecting to your own heart. If you look down, you'd also see that those threads go down and connect to a reverse kind of umbrella that you're standing over. And these are essentially you'll see in many in many Asian pictures of God, that God is standing in this kind of lotus. And this lotus that we're speaking of is the one that's below your feet. And the one that's over your head, that is the umbrella or the parachute that's over your head, kind of a radiant thing. There'll be 12 petals on that, or 12 ribs or 12 petals. And essentially the 12 petals around the central 13th, then the 12 petals below you around the central 13th, and then the self itself, which is beyond those 13 and beyond those 13. In either case, it's the same above you as it is below you, makes that that 27th point. And so you have 12 plus 1. 12 plus 1 gives you the 26, and then the central one is the self itself, which kind of stands above that parachute, or below this lotus bowl. Yeah, that's the self itself. And so but altogether, those 27, the 12, the 1, the 1, and the 1, is one way of seeing that. Another way of seeing that cosmic cube. Again, because it's beyond space and time, there are many different ways you can perceive this structure, this logos, this divine, this absolute structure, that are all equally valid. And so you can see it either as this kind of parachute above the lotus, or you can see it as a cosmic cube, or you can see it as an unfolding of 27 nakshatras. There's many different ways you can see this. They're all kind of perspective views on the eternal, on the divine, on that which always is. Okay, and I think that's probably all we have for today. This is, again, Rory Goff, thanking you very much for listening, and I wish you all a happy, happy Epiphany, and we will see you again next week, and also wishing you a happy, happy 10th, 11th, and 12th chakras, and enjoy those to the fullest, because they are always with you. Other chakras may come and go, our attention may come and go, but if we go up beyond our own crown chakra, or below our feet chakra, there is always that crystal golden realm of divinity that is always, we are actually immersed in at all times. Essentially our body-mind that believes is other than that is essentially a spacesuit, as a bubble of what appears to be not divinity in a huge, immense, eternal ocean of divinity. And part of the process of sanctification or coming to love God fully, we start to realize that even that which appears to be not divine is also nothing other than divine, because if you're saying there's something that's not divine, you're actually limiting God. And God will agree to that, so to speak, for the purpose of free will. But as you align your will more and more with God, and you come to see that everything is nothing other than perfection, you start to let go of the limits you've been putting on God, on the perfection of God, and you, in all humility, allow God to show you that even you are not other than that same substance. You too are made in the image of the Creator. All right, again, this is Rory Goff from Fairfield, Iowa. Thank you very much for being with us, and we hope to see you again next week.